is up, guys, and welcome back to another day of Whitley Auto Works. Now, as I've talked about in previous videos, some of my absolute best videos with a lot of people watching, especially the one with Rustoleum. I've had over 20,000 views on that video, and it was a 3-year review on my dad's truck. And so I have a lot of people in the comments asking me questions about various things doing with just from your basic Rustoleum paint job all the way to a custom pearl Rustoleum paint job. And all this stuff can be done on a budget. It's about as cheap as it possibly gets. I'll kind of break it down in this video. We're going to go through all of it. I'm going to try to go through everything from just your basic price points and stuff with just a cheap Rustoleum paint job all the way up to doing custom pearl paint jobs. And I'm even going to show you the difference between spraying different things. So without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so I guess we'll start off with the obvious, guys. Now, Rustoleum paint jobs, what they are. Now, when you deal with automotive paint, a lot of times you're dealing with, you start off really cheap with acrylic enamel, and then you work your way up to more expensive paints. Price ranges from $100 for generic fast dry all the way up to your premium stuff, spending thousands upon 10,000s with House of Colors and all kinds of other mess. But basically, we're not talking about any of that in this video. We're doing this as cheap as possible on the cheapest budget as possible. So I'm going to show you what is the cheapest possible. Now, when a lot of people talk about Rustoleum paint jobs, they're talking about this. This is the professional stuff like you get at Lowe's. You can usually pick this whole gallon up for about 30 bucks. And that's what I've done with this. This is smoke gray. It usually turns out to be kind of a light gray. I'll throw it on the screen. But with this, you can also take other Rustoleums of the same brand, just like this, oil-based, and you can mix them together and create your own custom colors. And that's what I've done with this. I call it Punisher Gray. That's what I've labeled it on the top of the can. What I've done is I've took Battleship Gray, which is this, and I've mixed a quart of black into it to get it even darker, and this is the result I've gotten. So this is the color. That's what it looks like. It's a good shade darker. It's kind of a mix between like a dark shadow gray and a Battleship Gray, which is the lighter color. But I like it. I tinted it down. I painted my Prelude with it. I'll throw a picture of that in. And it turned out great. So how do we mix Rustoleum paint? How do we do it? Ins and outs? Well, I'm going to go ahead and go over it with you. Alright, so basically there's only 2 ingredients when you're doing Rustoleum. You got your paint, and you got your acetone, or any kind of thinning agent. Some people use lacquer thinner, some people use mineral spirits. And the reason I use acetone is because if you actually read the back of the can, it tells you to thin this out with acetone. So I've always used acetone. I've never had any issues. I also use Prep-All, or just a generic Duplicolor wax and grease remover to clean my panels before painting. Now, I found with these two, I do have the best chance of not having any reactions with the Rustoleum paint. So basically sand it down, get it to the point you want. I would say 400 to 600 is adequate sanding for having your panels prepped to spray. 800 would be the absolute most. Anything higher than that before you spray Rustoleum, and you really run the risk of it not adhering correctly because you need those deep sand scratches of some sort so that the Rustoleum actually bites into it. Okay, so as far as mixing and thinning and everything else with Rustoleum. Now, the paint and the acetone that I use, I always mix it 70% paint, 30% acetone. So basically 2 to 1 maybe-ish. You kind of just have to look at it for consistency. You want it to be kind of runny, but you don't want it to be like straight water. It really depends on what kind of spray gun you're using, what you're doing with that. I'll show you my spray gun setup. I have a Setajet 1000. This is an old school paint gun. It was the first generation of digital paint guns. This is what I use. Setajet 2000. And this one has a 1.3 tip. So you kind of have to be conscious of that too, what kind of size tip you got. A lot of them either have a 1.3 or 1.7. You can get bigger if you want to spray like bed liner, or if you want to spray heavy flake or whatever else. So that's pretty much the basis when it comes to Rustoleum. Now we're going to jump into pearls. I've had a lot of people asking me about what's the difference between pearls, different flakes, metallics and stuff like that. So let's get into that. Alright, pearls and metallics. Flakes, boat flake, boat glitter as I call it. What's the difference? A lot of people have asked me. I've had some comments. So we're going to start off with pearls. Pearls is the finest you can get. It's pretty much a powder. I mean, you mix this in and it pretty much disappears. It gives you your color, but you don't see any texture. And then you work your way up to flakes. Flakes, they have a little bit of a texture to them. So it's pretty much, when you use microflakes like what this is House Colors microflakes, you tend to get what almost looks like orange peel in it when you finish spraying it, no matter what, just because this will create a slight texture. And then of course you have different microns of flakes all the way up to freaking boat glitter, is what I call it, which is the big chunks like you see on all these old school boats and some hot rods and stuff like that. And those are all going to give you different desired finishes. You might have to wet sand everything back down afterwards and re-clear it. It just really just depends on how thick of material you got and use. So basically, let me see if I can't show you the difference up close a little bit better. Alright guys, so welcome to my Whitley Auto Works paint station. Now first thing we're going to look at is this pearl. So let me take a little bit out of the bag and I'll pretty much show you what it is. So put a little bit on my finger, and then that's pretty much it, guys. It's like dust specked, if you can see that. I mean, it's next to nothing. All right, so that's pearl, and this is flake. Open this up, this stuff gets everywhere. It's pretty much glitter. So as you can see, this is a lot thicker in comparison to the pearl. I mean, this is just straight. This is the smallest glitter you can pretty much get. It's microflake. This is House Colors. This is probably the more expensive of brands. I've had this, boy, probably for 20 years. And painted various cars with it. So that's the difference between pearl and flake. Now, the next thing. What does it look like over various colors? Well, let's find out. Alright guys, so to simulate everything, I'm going to paint. Now this is going to be like if you're using different bases. I don't have white, so I'm going to use this primer color. This is going to simulate if you spray a pearl or a flake over a white base. And then I have this black, and I'm going to do one in black, and this is going to simulate it over a black or darker base. So, let me paint these paint sets up real quick, and we'll shoot some pearl over it and see what we got. Alright, so we got black and we got light color primer. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to wait for this to dry, and I'm going to show you what kind of cheap clear I use and the price and everything when I do custom pearl paint jobs. And it's a little bit cheaper than automotive clear. Alright, so before we get into clear coat, one of the first things I'm going to go ahead and address that I actually forgot when we were just talking about straight Rustoleum is you can put stuff like Japan dryer or an actual hardener agent in with the Rustoleum to get hardened. Now, a lot of people complain about the hardening time on it, or it ain't like automotive paints because it doesn't have the hardener binder agent in it where it dries like automotive paint. So the way to supplement that is to throw the Japan dryer in or stuff like this. This is catalyst hardener that you can get from Tractor Supply. This is usually about 20 bucks for this little container. And then as far as clear goes, a lot of times I'll use this Magic Crystal Clear to do my pearl and stuff. And all in all, you can get out with both of this, a gallon of this and a quart of this, which should go into the gallon, for, and maybe even 2 if you want to get it even more hardened. But you can get out for a little bit less than $100, which is barely cheaper than you can do online, but it is cheaper. You can also buy automotive grade clear if you rather go that route, like Nathan's, like you saw in the back. I use that sometimes. It all works about the same. Basically, you wait 45 minutes to an hour of your last coat after your last coat of paint, and then you can apply your clear. So let's jump into the pearls and the metallics, and I'm going to mix some of this up with some of this and mix some pearl in and show you what it does. Alright, so I got the stick split up now. I got a light colored and dark colored stick on that one, and a light colored and dark colored stick on that one. Now, as far as showing you the difference between pearls and flakes, on this one we're going to put a P for pearl, and on this one we're going to put an F for flake. That way we'll be able to show the difference. And you'll see in real time what these look like between different coats. Now I'm going to do various coats on it, and between each coat I'm going to show you what exactly it turns out like. Alright guys, so in this one we're going to mix up some flake, and in this one we're going to mix up some pearl, so you can see the difference. Alright, let's get some of this mess out of the way, and let's open up this can. Alright, so one thing I don't necessarily like about this tractor trailer clear is it ends up pretty much looking like piss when you put it in the cup, but it will turn out clear when you actually do everything. So let me add some hardener agent in it, so we want both of them to dry. A little bit in that, a little bit in that. This ain't got to be 100% perfect because this is just doing a test. Let me get a stir stick. Okay, so first I'm going to use this carbon green pearl, and we're going to put this in the first one. Now it doesn't take a whole lot, obviously, because we're not doing a whole lot, we're just doing some stir sticks. So I got the sacrificial pearl for this. I'm going to put a little bit in there, and that's going to be good for that. Mix that up. I'll try and show y'all guys this. I know it's horrible with my camera angle, but this is a rich looking green, as you can see. Pretty cool. So that's going to be the pearl end of things. Alright, let's do the flake. Now this flake I've had sitting on the shelf for a while. I am not in any way, shape, or form worried about it. So I'm going to put a generous amount. Ooh, flake everywhere. Get another stir stick. Just mix that up. I don't know if you guys can see that. Woo, it's dancing. It's pretty. And then of course, that's your flake. It's honestly, it's a little bit thicker than say your pearl. So for comparison's sake, I don't know if you can really tell a difference between them. Obviously the pearl probably looks thicker, but it's not. It's just there's a lot more of a buildup on it. So anyways, that's the pearl mixed up, and that's the flake mixed up. Now let's shoot them over the sticks and let's see what we got. Now the microflake, you are going to have to kind of keep it mixed up pretty good, really both of these, as you're spraying it. If not, it'll kind of break away and you'll just be getting clear. So let's jump back over to the sticks and let's get to spraying. Alright, so on this side I've got my flake sticks, they're ready to go. And on this side I've got my pearl sticks, they're ready to go. It looks more like a D than a P, but oh well. So for the starters, I'm going to go ahead and throw the pearl in, and we're going to shoot some pearl on these 2 sticks. First coat, just 1 coat, that way you can see. And I'm going to show you how much it takes to build everything too, so you can kind of get a good idea if you decide you want to do a custom metal flake or a custom pearl paint job. So let's get to it. Alright guys, so I got some pearl mixed up in my gun. I'm not going to run my regulator set up and all that. Like I said, this is just for test, so I can show you guys kind of the difference and what you can expect if you decide to spray this yourself at the house or whatever else. But we got some pearl loaded up. We're going to shoot these pearl sticks first. I'm going to do basically just a single coat, and I'll show you what it looks like on the sticks. and what you can expect as far as thickness and finish from one coat over various colors. So here we go. And I am in a pretty well ventilated area, and I'm just going to be spraying this a little bit, so I won't have a mask on. Hit me if you will, but yeah, this is just for test. So anyways. Woo! Okay, so I probably should have nailed that down. Alright. Okay, so as you can see, over black, it looks pretty green. It's pretty cool. I know my camera's not the best in the world, but that's over black. And that's what you get. If I can get out of the daggone light. That's what you get over a light color. Now, a little disclaimer, a lot of people mess up with this. A lot of times, unless it's a white powdered base pearl, and it's usually these generic pearls like this, if you spray it over a light color and it's a dark pearl, it will look like spots, typically. So that's not something you want to do. You want to pick out your colors accordingly. But this is about what you can expect. That's a pretty heavy first coat, I would say. And you can go lighter than that if you want to. But this is pretty much what you can expect from shooting a pearl paint job over a black versus shooting it over a white. And it's more translucent over the white or over the primer, as in with this, but that's where we're at. Okay, so I'm going to take a minute before we jump to flake. I'm going to show you what a second or third or pretty much a final coat would look like over a white base for a pearl and over a black base for a pearl. Okay, so this is where we at, and you can kind of see the difference. It's a little more translucent when you shoot it over a lighter color. But that's the color difference. Now you can keep coating it and you'll end up with a dark green over the black or a lighter green over the white. So that's kind of what you can expect when shooting pearls, guys. So now let's finally jump over to the metallic side of things. Got the cup loaded up with my blue pearl, or blue rainbow flake, or blue flake anyways. But I'm going to shoot this over one good coat and let you see the results. Okay, so this is the difference with flake versus pearl. As you can see, it's a little more defined, and you kind of have the same result over white to where it kind of speckles because, like I said, we're using a darker color flake. So it's going to kind of give you that, you're going to see the grain pretty much. And I know the camera doesn't want it to focus. There it goes. See how you can see the grain and see the thickness of the flake. Now, when compared over here to pearl, you can see how much thinner that actually is. So that's a good representation of the difference between flake and pearl in real time. And I'm gonna hit it with one more coat and we're gonna call that good. All right, so let's go for coat 2. All right, so this is coat 2. This is going to simulate more so full coverage to a certain extent. And you see how it has more of that glitter effect because it's flake. And you have the same situation with this. Now you can really kind of tell why you don't necessarily want to shoot a dark colored flake over a light color, because it just, it looks like specks. I mean, it looks cool. It's a cool effect. And you would think, and it looks great when the light hits it, but when the light doesn't hit it, oh, it's a mess. So let's put them side by side and let's really compare pearl to metallic. I keep saying pearl to metallic, but I mean pearl to flake. So anyways, so this is what we got. That's over white. And you can really see the difference here between pearl and flake. See how much finer the pigment is in comparison? And of course you got rainbow flake over white. I am really sorry that this is seeming to be kind of distorted, but you kind of get the gist of the idea. Pearl, flake, and you can see how it's not completely covering on the white. It would take a lot more coats, so I would not advise doing a dark color flake over a light colored color. I mean, it ain't gonna turn out well. But that looks pretty cool. That's a good example of, I mean, this is micro flake, guys, so this is the smallest flake you can possibly get against a pearl. So you're seeing the metallic difference in thickness. So kind of use that to gauge what you want and what kind of finish you're looking for. So that's going to be it for this, and let's jump back over. Alright, so guys, so I hope this video really answers some of your questions. Do you want to use pearl or do you want to use metal flake? Now, I did this, I wasted material, but it's fine, it's not a big deal. The more important thing is I don't want you to make the mistake of going and getting pearl when you wanted flake or vice versa. I want you to kind of know the finish you're getting. Obviously, like I said, this is micro flake, so it only gets bigger. You can use boat glitter, but be mindful of what kind of tip your gun has so it won't clog up your gun. You'll actually be able to spray it through. And I'm getting hot. It's about to start raining, so not good to paint when you're raining. You don't want to paint in humidity, but for test purposes, this was fine. But anyways, I hope this actually helped you. Hope it actually makes your next Rustoleum paint job turn out awesome and cheap, a lot cheaper than automotive. And that's going to be it today, guys. And I might do another segment explaining automotive paints and how to do that with the pearls. I don't know, but this was kind of just one of those things where I had a guy make a comment, so I figured, heck, why not make a video? But that's it. I appreciate you guys watching. I hope you like, share, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you thought. Did I do a good job? Was this in depth enough for you? Is there something else you'd like to see? I'm gonna go inside, stop sweating. Y'all be safe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.